How's it going, everyone? This is James Given, Assistant Principal of Student Affairs.
Nabil Omar, Assistant Principal, Student Affairs.
And Nicole Steele, Assistant Principal of Student Affairs.
Since we can't meet in person, we're just going to go over the Student Affairs presentation via Zoom, or I guess via recording. So just kind of follow along with us as we go through this. So we have everyone in the Student Affairs office listed here. Obviously, we gave you our names. We have Bobby Wilson coming back, and we have a new assistant principal, Brooklyn Calloway. She's awesome. You guys are going to meet her, and you're going to love her. All right, so first things first, passes.
So no passes at all. So the first in 10 minutes. So students come into the classroom, they said they can't go to the bathroom. Absolutely no passes the first and last 10 minutes of the classrooms.
This is so that when we're doing our tardy sweeps, which we will talk about in a minute, we'll know who's truly late to class and who isn't. You know, I mean, if they're out, they're late.
And only passes will go only for emergencies. We know that sometimes emergencies, if only emergency, try not to give passes as much as you can. So we're trying to limit the students being out at all times.
Yeah, and it just really takes a community, guys, because we want to make sure kids are in class and in class on time. And if we release several students at the very beginning of class and multiply that by, let's say, 10 or 15 teachers, it becomes a real issue. So just make sure you're holding kids in class, unless it's an emergency, of course. The last bullet is just something that I used to do in my classroom. I know Ms. Steele used to do it as well, where you give them a set amount of printed passes at the beginning of each quarter that they have to fill out and get you to sign to leave the room. And then if they don't use passes, they get extra credit at the end of the quarter. It worked really, really well.
Just an idea.
Yeah, just optional idea. All right, attendance is pretty self-explanatory. Please make sure to take attendance. First period attendance rolls at 9 a.m., so make sure you have that done. It's the same as you guys have always done.
Make sure also you have a plan for your subs on taking attendance. So they can take that attendance right away at the beginning of the period, take your attendance, have somebody to take it to Student Affairs.
Yeah, have a student that you know that's going to go to Student Affairs and then come back listed for the sub to use as a runner for the roster.
All right, so we're going to be a little more stringent on tardies this year. We're going to do intervals of 5 tardies. The consequences aren't listed just due to the time that we're in. Like, we don't exactly know what next quarter will look like. We'll update these consequences as soon as we find out what we'll be doing. So first and foremost, just make sure you guys have a discipline plan in your classroom set up. Does a student know what will happen if they're late to class? Is it set up? Is it visible in your classroom? Have you verbalized the consequences that will happen in your classroom? Do parents know? Have they been contacted? So just think of those things before you refer them to us and actually start the disciplinary train.
Okay, so also this year we're going to do something different that we didn't do. We did it years ago, the tardy sweeps. So is there on this one too? Right? So tardy sweeps. So we will be doing the tardy sweeps where as soon as the bell rings, somebody's going to come up and say, you know, close all the doors. All the tardies will have specific locations, and we'll send students to those locations, and then we will issue them consequences right there, and then send them back to your classroom with a pass. And then if they're reach that tardy consequence to go to ISS or whatever, that's what we'll do right there.
Yeah, and the reason we chose is because we listened to your guys' surveys and just talking to teachers. It seemed like we wanted to do something, but there were several teachers who did not like the formal corral system, because every day, every period got a little taxing on you guys with instructional time. So we're going to do these in a random order, essentially. So that way students are always kind of like on top of themselves, and hopefully that'll kind of just be a good middle ground for tardies. So zero tolerance, this hasn't changed either. Kids and teachers need to be in a safe work environment, a safe learning environment. So if you feel yourself being bullied or harassed, obviously come to us immediately. If you witness anything from a student or students concerning bullying or harassing, please come to us immediately, because that's something we're not going to tolerate.
So there's different ways. A lot of the times teachers report that they're not sure. They don't know that the student has an IEP or 504 or ESOL. So we have different people we have the ESC specialist, the ELL specialist, or the ESOL specialist that can help you. So there's many ways on how you can find out your students, whether they have an IEP plan or EP if they're gifted or if they're ELL. So the first one is EDCONNECT. So you can go to EDCONNECT, log in, and once you log in under demographic, the first thing that pops up, so as soon as, and then right here, under general information, you can see. So if a student's, the grade level right there, the second part right here, where it tells you the students, if they have an IEP, of their ESOL, if they're magnet, if they're STEP. So the first thing you want to look into, it's in here. If it says IEP, it means students has an IEP. If the students have a 504 plan, it will be listed right here. If it's an ELL student, it will be listed in here. So one other thing that, especially for the freshmen, that you might want to look into is the STEP program. So there are students that are, like this student specifically, for example, it says here for the STEP program, students in middle school that were held back 1 year or 2 years. When they go to middle school, they go to 6th grade. The summer of 6th grade, they attend 7th grade. And then they skip a year, and if they do everything, they skip a year, and then they go right to 8th grade. So they make up that extra year, the 7th grade year. So with this, then, you know, those students sometimes, you know, they struggle. Just keep in mind that those students that they held back for whatever reason, and on here, it'll tell you if the students were held back a year, 2 years, so you'll see it. Just things to keep in mind. On the right side right here, it'll tell you the primary exceptionality if they have an IEP. If they're migrants, it tell you if they're migrants. If it's a migrant, so Mr. Rivera is the migrant person. You could reach out to them, ask him if you have issues with the students. That's an extra resource for you as well. And on here, it'll tell you if the student is neighborhood, choice, magnet, and so on. So that's one way to find out about students. So the second way is on IPT. So the easiest way to do it, go to Google and put IPT SDHC. And as soon as you put it in there, the first thing that comes up is viewpoints. Click on viewpoints and then log in. So once you log in, on the right side, it gives you information. So most likely it'll give you your name on here, the course, the period. So there's two ways you can do this. Either you can pull all of your students' data in one file, or you can split it by course. So if you teach multiple courses, Econ and US Government, for example, so you can pick Econ first, and if you have 3 Econ classes, then you can pick by period, and then go to students demographic. Once you hit student demographic, then on the right side, it'll show you a menu. Go ahead to the next one. So what you want to do when it pulls it up, the one thing that is important to look into, there's a little key right there. You click it. Once you click it, a new window will pop up. And what that window tells you, it gives you what information you want to look into. So if you want to look if a student has an IEP, then you need to pick ESC plan. If you want to know if they have a 504 plan, then you want to pick that. And if you want to know specifically the primary exceptionality, whether the student is autistic, if it's a specific learning disability, then you can pull that information as well too. You can check on that one. If they're migrants or ELL, whatever you want, there's a lot of information you can pick and choose from there. So what happened is, information from here, you highlight it and you click the arrow and it will go to this side. And if you want to get rid of information, you can do the opposite. Highlight it, click the arrow, and it goes to the other direction. And then save it. So what happened when it pulls the report, it'll give you the student name, student number, grade, and all of the exceptionality. So you can do it for all of your classes. And with this, it will pull up all of the students and it will tell you whether they have an IEP or ELL or so on. And then you can use those extra resources you have to help you. If the student has an ESC plan, then look at the case manager, look at the ESC specialist. If they're ELL, get in touch with the ESOL, because they do have usually a lot more information about the students. Migrants, definitely Mr. Rivera has a lot of information about the students, the family, and everything. Reach out to them, ask them, email them, call them, so you'll be provided with their extension.
And I would use IPT all the time in my classroom to group students who had similar reading comprehension abilities or Lexile standards, if you will. And that would help me a lot to just get ahead of any potential like mismatchings with texts and stuff like that. So it's a really, really valuable tool.
So what you can do also, you know, for your 9th and 10th grader, because like, for example, if you want to pull your roster and you want to know their FSA level. Now we know we're talking about 2 years ago. So what you can do is you can go by, and that's something I did for my students as well, by subject and strand. You click on that one, you pick the FSA, you can pick the assessment, ELA or math, and then you click this little arrows right here, and then you pull a report. Just make sure we had no assessment last year. So just keep that in mind. So whatever assessment we have, it'll be from 2 years ago. For our freshmen, it'll be from 7th grade. And then pull it up. And then it give you the detailed information about each of the strands, how many points they got on each of the strands, whether they may gain, did they may gain. It's very important information that can help you plan your lessons. So I know this has, it was a lot. So I'll be more than happy to help you one-on-one. We can sit down, we can do a Zoom session, whichever. If you need more help on this information, we can go through it in details. Email me or call me, schedule a meeting with me. We'll be more than happy to help you.
Yeah, above all else, we're just here to support you guys and support your classroom. So please just hit us up with any concerns or questions or anything. We're just here to support you guys. It was good seeing everybody, and we hope to see a lot more of you. Thank you very much.